Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Joseph Arthur, and I've got something interesting for you guys. So, recently, I had the opportunity to present my final speech in my public speaking class. We were told to write a persuasive speech, not necessarily write, but like prepare a persuasive speech on an interesting but controversial topic. So it was supposed to be backed by research. I did my due diligence, did my research, prepared my speech, and take a wild guess. What topic did I choose? I guess a lot of you are guessing. So I chose the topic of abortion. It's a very sensitive topic, but yet controversial. So I want you guys to sit down. If you could get a cone of popcorn, a cup of popcorn, whatever you can put it in. Sit down, relax, enjoy the speech. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, I'll start timing you when you start speaking.
Good morning, everyone. I'm in the person of Joseph Arthur. In the society we live in, we are told to stand up for the vulnerable. We are told to stand up for the voiceless. We are told to stand up for the disabled. But there's one group of people who are often overlooked because actually they don't have a voice. I'm here to talk to you today about abortion. I'm not here to condemn it. I'm not here to make anyone feel guilty. But I'm here to actually persuade you that abortion is a morally wrong act because it's the intentional ending of a human life. In this speech today, I'm going to take you through the morality, the science, and the often hard cases. So let's start. What makes you you? You are you because of your DNA. When does your DNA start? Your DNA starts at the moment of conception. So you are not you because you were born. You are not you because you grew up to become as big as you are. You are you because your mom and your dad decided to come together, play some adult games, and have you. Now, people will say that the baby, at this point, the child is not a baby. The fetus or the embryo is not yet a human and is actually part of the mother's human body. This is not true. The fetus is not like a kidney. The fetus is a humankind or a human being on its own. Now, according to the standard medical text like Langman's Medical Embryology, a new human organism begins at fertilization. Now, a child's heartbeat can be felt or heard at 6 weeks, which is usually the time the mother doesn't usually know she's pregnant at that time. And at this point, the child also begins to develop a nervous system. And what's the nervous system? The nervous system is in charge of you feeling pain, you feeling pleasure. And some people also debate that at this point, the child does not feel pain, so it is right to kill the child. Now, according to scientific study, researchers in the Journal of Medical Ethics state that a capacity for fetal pain may exist far earlier than previously thought. So it means there's a possibility for the child to feel pain. Now, this is not also about viability. When I talk about viability, I'm talking about the ability of the child to remain alive outside the mother's womb. So now, 50 years ago, maybe a child born prematurely might not survive, but in this age, a child born prematurely can actually survive. And if you debate that because the child can't survive outside your womb, it is right to kill the child, you are wrong. Because who knows, 50 years from now, a woman might not even be needed to keep a child. Now, I'm going to the moral side of this debate. This speech. So now, we are going to talk about personhood. Now, today, people might debate that a fetus isn't a person because it's not self-aware and it's not rational. If you think about this critically, children, when born, infants, don't get self-aware until they are, 5 years. What about disabled people? What about those who are temporarily in a state of coma? At that moment in time, they are not rational. At that moment in time, they are not conscious. Does it mean you should kill them? No. Now, if society accepts this whole idea of a person not being a person or not being a human because the person is not self-aware, society is treading on a dangerous path and should reconsider its decisions. Now, humanity, the value of humanity is not in its ability, not in your ability to walk, not in your ability to talk. The value of a human is just you being human. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to be human to be able to be considered a human being. Now, this is also like discriminatory if you decide that a person needs to die because the person is disabled. Now, also, I'm going to talk about a future. You denying the child of a future. So, according to philosopher Don Marquis, killing is wrong because it robs the victim of what he calls a future like ours. So now, when you kill a baby, you're not just robbing the child of its present state, you're also robbing it of its future, its ability to have relationships, its ability to experience the world like we do. And this is morally wrong. It just doesn't, abortion doesn't just destroy a person, it destroys a lifetime, it destroys a generation. Now, let's talk about survivors of abortion. So, Sonia Curry, Steph Curry's mom, was at a clinic to abort Steph Curry, but chose to allow Steph Curry live. Justin Bieber's mom, Patty Mallet, was also pressured to abort, but also refused. Now, what would have happened if these mothers decided to abort their children? We would have lost extremely bright futures. Now, let's talk about the hard cases. What if the mother's life is at risk? So now, 1% of mothers will be at risk at pregnancy, and out of this 1%, it's just a few number of them who would require the baby to be killed. Now, the whole point of saving the mother is not to kill the child. The child might die as a result of saving the mom, but the whole process is not about killing the child, but it's about saving the mom. Pro-life medical groups like AAPLOG state that direct abortion is never medically necessary to save a mother's life. Okay, so also, what if it was rape or incest? So rape and incest, they are very horrific crimes. I don't advise it in any society. But let's think about this critically. You are a victim of rape. Who is the baby? The baby is also the second victim of rape. You don't retaliate an act of violence with another act of violence. That's wrong. And I'm going to recommend a solution to this in the conclusion of my speech. What if the child is disabled? What if the child is sick? Now, a disability like Down syndrome, if you discover that, so in this current medical age, people are able to know the disabilities a child might have just by taking the blood. Now, if you discover that your child is disabled and you abort it because it has Down syndrome, isn't that a very severe form of discrimination? Would you say all the disabled people in this world should be killed because they are disabled? No, I said this earlier. The value of humanity is not in its ability, but it's actually in its state of being human. What if the child has a fetal disease like anencephaly? Now, this is a very sad case where the child will have to live for like a few hours to a few days. I wouldn't recommend you to kill the child. There's actually a more humane way to go about this. Now, take note. Abortion, how many of you here know how abortion is performed? Okay, so most of you don't know. But for the sake of time, I'll advise you to just go and do a little research about it. It's a very inhumane act. The baby is actually torn, depending on the stage of the pregnancy, the baby is actually torn limb for limb. Just go and watch it. So I'll recommend prenatal hospice. Now, what's prenatal hospice? Prenatal hospice is the situation where you are allowed to keep the baby for the whole period of 9 months. And you are able to name the child, you're able to allow the child go through all the normal things the child is supposed to go through, and After, if the child dies, you bury the child. Now, ethical articles from prenatal hospitals call it a loving alternative that honors the child's life, however short. Now, let's talk about this last point, which is very interesting. What about a failed birth control method? Your condom broke, whatever. Now, this is where you must bear responsibility for your orgasms. Now, you don't you don't kill someone because it was an accident. If you crash someone on the road, you don't say, oh, the person's about to die, let me kill the person. You actually bear responsibility for your actions and you take care of that person. It's not a child's fault for coming into this world, and you don't give a permanent solution that's ending the child's life to a temporary problem. And you might also say that it will affect your social life, it will affect your education, whatever. You actually need to bear responsibility for your action. What about the case of my body, my choice? Now, where your rights end, that's where someone's rights begin. So if you say it's your body and you have rights to it, then you're also infringing on the child's right to life. Now, in conclusion, I'll recommend to you adoption, which is like a very heroic and positive choice. No child is actually unwanted. There are millions of families out there who need babies, and you keeping that child will actually like help a family that doesn't have the ability to have one. So in the end, I'll say protect all life, and all stages of pregnancy matter. Thank you.
Wow, that was a very long speech. Thanks again for listening, for taking the time to listen to everything. I know it was very long. So we're supposed to speak for 6 to 8 minutes, and I spoke for over 10 minutes. I know it was very long. I overstayed my welcome. I know I got penalized for it though, so don't worry, you've been justified. Yeah, so I didn't get my full points for that speech because I had gone past the set time, which was 8 minutes. I didn't really care about the points though, because for the previous speeches I had done, I had gotten like my full points for those speeches. I also had some bonus points due to like some assignments I had done, so I didn't really care about the points for my final speech. I just wanted to make my points known to the class and where I stood on the whole topic of abortion. So, and also kudos to my teacher who allowed me continue to talk for that long. Yeah. Me personally, I realized that the speech was getting too long, so I decided to. So if you realize from the video, getting to like the last part of it towards the conclusion, I sped things up a little because I realized that I had spoken for too long, so like the engagement was not really there, so like I had to speed things up and end my speech. Otherwise, I guess the whole class would have gotten up to like sack me. Hey, leave my class. Yeah, I was just kidding. So yeah, abortion is a very interesting topic, very controversial one as such. And if you could share your thoughts on the topic or on my speech, feel free to use the comment section. And also, please be polite. Yes, let's be polite. And thank you again for listening. Thank you for joining. Hope you have a nice day. Peace out.